Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I'm your host, Mistress Carrie. Welcome to the official War Room. And right off the bat, Mr. Cole, yes, I know, I'm 5 minutes late, putting up the military time, 20:35. The show is supposed to start at 8:30, but we were running a little bit behind tonight. And part of the reason, not the whole reason, but part of the reason is the little nugget that's over here to my left right now. If you are new to Cocktails in the War Room, I'm your host, Mistress Carrie. Allow me to welcome you. And this is what we do every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern. We jump on my Facebook page to talk about the news of the week, to talk about music, tours, how everybody is doing. We all started getting together on March 14th of 2020. Believe it or not, we're going to hit our 3-year anniversary coming up in about, 7 weeks or so? And we did 80 nights in a row during the height of the uncertainty of the pandemic. And then once we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast in June of 2020, Cocktails in the War Room became a weekly show where we get together and basically just hang out and try to keep each other sane. Ow! And part of the reason why I'm screaming is that my co-host over here, Wednesday, is scratching me and wants a little attention, right? Is that what you want? Yes, I know. What's up, Lisa? Tracy, Donna's here. Mark, Keith. Donald joining us. Louise is here. Don LeBlanc, Penny, Jen is here. Betty joining us. So if you're new to the War Room, the first thing you got to do is let us know that it's your first time in the War Room with us. The second thing you got to do is let us know that you're watching from where, because we want to be able to welcome you properly. The OGs of the War Room have dubbed themselves the War Room family, and we want to welcome you properly. We also want to cheers to you if you're new to the War Room. And if you are new, you don't know what this means. Copper Mugs means I'm having a Moscow Mule tonight. You can always tell what I'm drinking based on the container because they change pretty frequently. Hey, Wednesday, by the way, that's where you can find her. She has her own Instagram page, so that's her Instagram handle. Come over here if you want a cookie. No, over here. If you're going to cry and get down. Good girl. Can I have a high five? Thank you. Can I have your paw? No, paw. Other one? No, I want the other one. There you go. There you go. What's up, Byron? Thanks for joining us. Jessica is here. Jimbo is here. First time from Boston. Nicely done, Jimbo. The special effects budget on the show is very low, so don't expect spaceships and, all kinds of special effects. But this is our way of passing the time on Tuesday nights together. So if you're new, we appreciate you hanging out. You're going to get a lot of music news. I'm going to tell you who's coming up on this week's podcast episode that goes live at midnight. Mistress, your hat fits. Travis, you got it already? Damn, the post office is in. So if you haven't checked out the shop at mistresscarrie.com, for the holidays, we got a new line of hats, fitted black caps. We got trucker hats in there and also black visors. And there are some OGs here in the War Room, including Travis, that were always asking me that if I was going to launch a line of hats that they wanted like double extra large ones, like size 8 and above, because we've got some big-headed individuals here in the War Room. You know what they say about guys with big heads. They need big hats. And so Travis was one of those guys, and he just received his double extra large hat. Travis, I need photographic evidence of the fit, but I'm super excited that it fits you. And the caps are all in stock, as are the beanies in the shop at mistresscarrie.com. And I do want to let you guys know that there is another sale coming. So be on the lookout for that, possibly for Valentine's Day. So as today is the last day of January, you can expect some February sales coming for the website. So happy that the post office was on the ball. Nicely done. Travis says it's comfortable and it looks good. Fantastic. Melissa from the OG gang. Michael Cole says Winona Judd gave out a nice shout out to Jeff Beck at her concert the other night at the DCU. Yeah, I think when you look at the influence of Jeff Beck, it's not just a rock influence. It's not just like a heavy metal influence. It's not just a prog rock influence. It's not just a classical music influence. Jeff Beck is one of those guys that, guitar virtuosos now. Guys like Zach Wilde, Joe Satriani, Nuno Betancourt, like guys that are at the top of the guitar game. Steve Vai. They all look at a guy like Jeff Beck as being someone that completely changed the game when it came to guitar players. So it doesn't surprise me that someone like Wynonna Judd, who's not known as being a rock artist at all, is giving credit where credit is due to Jeff Beck. But it's good to hear. That's awesome. Let's see. Wednesday says she wants treats for Valentine's Day. Jessica, trust me, this dog has treats for every occasion. Just a sampling of some of the treats. All of those crinkly treats and toys that are over here, by the way, were all in the mug. And she's already ripped them all out, and I've already put them back on the couch like 3 times. So, yeah, she's 100% spoiled for sure. Let's see. We need Mistress Carrie winter parkas, Hines says. Unfortunately, when you start getting into jackets, they get really pricey really fast. Things even like hoodies get really expensive because you want to make sure that they look really cool. And a lot of the times, you guys know, we've talked about this in the past, that I have a rule that if I get my tickets for free, and I hope that you guys will follow this rule because we give away a lot of tickets here in the War Room. We're going to have some more to give away coming up in the next few weeks. That if you get tickets for free, I just always ask that you find a way to support the band. Now, obviously, if you're going to a concert, free tickets, you're trying to save a little money. But as you've seen with a lot of the testimony in front of Congress about all of the Ticketmaster and Live Nation stuff, the bands don't get a cut of things like parking and the bar. And the venue gets a cut of the band's merchandise, which a lot of people have always wondered why that is. And the venues always say, well, we're giving you space to sell your stuff. The bands always argue, well, there would be no one in here if we weren't here. But my rule is always that if I get my tickets for free, and I'm fortunate enough that I get a lot of free tickets to shows, that I always buy merch because I know that money goes directly to the band. And so I always go to shows and I spend a lot of time analyzing the quality of the merchandise because there are a lot of bands that do a fantastic job of designing merchandise that you want to buy. Really cool hoodies, awesome tank tops, t-shirts, long sleeves. Wednesday, if you want a cookie, come over here and sit down. Down and be nice. Quiet. And so I hold my merch up against the band merch because you only buy merch for like the bands that you love. And I want people to buy the stuff that I have. I want people to wear it with pride. And when you start getting into parkas and jackets, it starts getting into like $100 plus, $120, $140, which are great. And I'm all about researching the winter parkas, but I don't want to just get some flimsy jacket because as we are all going to see, hey, there's no more. You ate them all already. They're gone. As we're all going to see in the temperatures in New England, at least over the next few days, it's fucking cold. They're saying wind chill in Worcester on Friday night into Saturday morning is going to be negative 34. So I don't know where you're watching from, but this crazy storm surge that's kind of going across northern United States that's going to buzz through New England at the end of the week, seriously freezing cold temperatures. And you don't want to make jackets that just look good that don't hold up because a lot of people rely on those coats to be super warm. So Jillian says, I bought a lot of t-shirts and tanks at Rob Zombie and at Shinedown. Those are two artists that are absolutely known for creating fantastic merchandise. Even Shinedown doing a deal with Dixon, which is huge. They had their own line of Dixon flannels that you can get. Again, not a cheap piece of merchandise, but really cool. We'll be freezing this weekend and Keith will still have no pants on, says Jonathan. So if you're new to the War Room, one of our OG War Room people, Keith, he doesn't like to wear pants a lot. And so that's become a running joke here in the War Room. I do want to remind you that there's a lot of glossary stuff. There's a lot of inside jokes here in the War Room. I haven't talked about it in a while, but if you go to mistresscarrie.com, if you go to the very first blog post in my blog, there is the dictionary, which is what we call the glossary of terms for cocktails in the war room. There's a lot of inside jokes and a lot of terms and references that you might not be privy to, and they're all up in the blog so that we don't lose you in any of the, there's nothing in there. See? She's trying to check my pockets for cookies. And I don't want you guys to be left out. So same here in Kentucky, freezing rain, says Jessica. Have to start bringing in the firewood now to get ready for the weekend. Mr. Cole, I did it today. I've got a week's worth of firewood that is going to be dry and perfect, that is lined up in the garage in barrels. I always keep at least a week's worth of firewood in the garage so that if we get a big storm, I don't have to go out and like brave the elements to be able to bring firewood into the house for the wood stove. So Bowling Green, Kentucky has freezing rain with snow. Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Stone Sour has been recording a record, his second solo album, in Vegas, and he filmed a really funny Instagram video because I guess Las Vegas got a dusting of snow that sent Sin City into a full-blown panic. And he made this really funny Instagram video of like him with a hoodie on with like jackets, just letting everybody in Vegas know that what they were seeing is actually just what happens when water gets cold. And it was pretty funny because obviously they're not used to snow. It does happen, but they're not used to it. It happened, was it January or February of 2019, I was in Vegas, and that's when I was training to run the Boston Marathon. And I was the idiot, the one person that was actually using the gym in Vegas at the hotel. And I decided to go out and run a little bit outside. And it was snowing outside in Vegas, and I had a short sleeve shirt on, and I was running down the street, and people thought I was drunk from like the night before, when actually I was just up at like 8:00 in the morning jogging in Vegas because I wanted to be ready to run the Boston Marathon. Although now that I've run it, no one's ever ready to run the Boston Marathon. What's up, Derek Bergeron, saying what's up here in the war room. Michelle says Texas has been having a lot of rain to the point where there is flooding. Yeah, some of these storms are nuts. The weather has just been crazy. Here in the Northeast, we haven't gotten as much snow as we have in the past. And there have been all of these reminders about this being the time of year back in 2015, where I think Boston got like 130 inches of snow in like 23 days. It was insane. People's roofs were collapsing. I myself had to go up and shovel my roof off a couple times. It was crazy. Eric says Groundhog Day, just 2 days away. The movie will be playing all day in theaters. I love that movie so much. It's so good. So to see it in theaters again, that's awesome that they're putting it back in theaters on Groundhog Day. I love that. I felt drunk up until yesterday, says Jen. Michelle says, Keith, I hope you have underwear on, she says. So yeah, the weather's been a little nuts. We are definitely preparing. I've got Wednesday's jackets already ready for her because if there's one thing that we've all learned about the delicate flower that is my dog, she does not like to go outside in the cold and does not like the snow and does not like to get her paws wet in the rain. And she will most definitely be peeing and pooping outside when it's really cold this weekend. Right, Wednesday? Do we have an agreement that you're not going to pee and poop in the house because it's cold and you're delicate? Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Mark says Keith never has to worry about shrinkage. Groundhog Day is so hilarious to watch. Yeah, the movie's awesome. And the fact that it's like a real thing in Puxatawny, like it's a kind of thing that's kind of on my bucket list. As much as I make fun of something as ridiculous as Groundhog Day, it's also something that I kind of want to experience once in my life, that I want to go there, see some of the places that they filmed the movie at, and at least be able to take some pictures and be like, yeah, I experienced Groundhog Day. Maybe once in my life. Donna wants to know if Wednesday wears booties. I have tried and she refuses. So, that's always one of the concerns, is making sure that her feet are going to be okay, because she refuses to wear the booties. I've tried. Will says, I went to Puxatawny a couple years back. It's not like the movie. Okay, well, maybe it's coming off my bucket list then. You could always try a litter box. Shannon, there's no way she would do that. Why do some dog owners treat their dogs like humans? Eric, because she's a member of my family. And I'm convinced that pugs in particular are like reincarnated people. They act like little old men trapped in dog bodies a lot of the time. And if you watched the series The Crown, which I'm fully addicted to, especially after Nick Mason from Pink Floyd told me on the podcast that he thinks, because he was friends with the Queen, that he thought that The Crown was very reminiscent and done very well when it came to showing a lot of how the royal family is and what life was like in England at certain points in history. And if you watch that, the old king that abdicated, he ended up having pet pugs with his wife. And there's a scene in the series where they're talking about having the choice in pugs and that they're not smart and they're childlike. And I'm sorry, Wednesday, but yeah, they're like having little kids. That's why we treat them like humans, because they're little humans trapped in dogs' bodies. Jessica says that's why pugs are so adorable. Yeah. My dog is family, no doubt, says Donald. My dog Yoda is my baby boy and my best pal, says Jen. See, that's why we baby them. So to all the dog people, you get it. You get it. Ann says, what's up, mistress? Still always miss WAF. So happy that you're doing so well. I typically do not comment, but wanted to send you kudos. Thanks, Ann. It's nice to be back on the radio. It's obviously different. I'm actually going to have lunch with Mike Shue on Thursday because we don't get to hang out very often because he's up so early and I'm up so late. But all of those friendships are all still there and still reconnecting with a lot of the old AAF crew. The more shows I go to, the more I realize that people are still finding out about the War Room, about the podcast, about the website, about the fact that Mike and I are on the Pike. It's still taking a really long time to kind of get the word out. So Jessica says all pugs aren't spoiled. They are trained cuties. Right, exactly. Brett says, I saw that Josh Dolan got a radio gig. Did he get the gig or was he auditioning for the gig? I saw that he was at the station, but I didn't know if he actually got the job or not. If he fully got it, I'm super excited for him. The station was up in New Hampshire, so I'm super stoked if Josh got back on the radio. Let's see. Ziggy Bombs for lunch. I don't know where we're going, actually. I think we might hit the Worcester Public Market because there's a bunch of places that Mike Shue has fantastic taste in food. And if you don't follow him on Instagram, you're missing out on a lot of food porn. And some of the places that he's been at the Worcester Public Market, I've told him that I definitely wanted to go. There's a lot of like steamed buns. He knows I love Indian food. So we're definitely going to go someplace. I just don't know where. Did you hear that Danielle might work at ZLX? So yes, I saw that too, that she put up a selfie with the mic flag from being in the ZLX studio. So you know what? I couldn't be happier for everybody that I used to work with for being able to continue on with their careers because losing something like what we had is devastating. And the industry is changing so much that for people that have done this for a really long time, you really do miss it. And a lot of what you miss, not only is the camaraderie of the group of people that you work with, but the relationship with the audience is something that just becomes such a part of you, which is why I love coming in the War Room every week, because you spend so much time in that studio by yourself that you're never really sure who's listening, what people are going to react to, what they're going to remember. And so when you get welcomed into people's day whether it be in the car during their commute, whether it be at their workplace, whether it be at their home, if they're working from home or they're taking care of the kids, that when you get welcomed into someone's life and become part of the daily routine of their life, it's an emotional connection that you make with people that you really miss. And unless you've done it, it's really hard to explain. And once you've done it, it's really hard to give up. So I couldn't be happier to hear that all of the people that are part of my forever, WAF family are finding new gigs. I think it's fantastic. That's why I have so many kids out there that I don't know about, says Keith. It's because he doesn't wear pants. Exactly. Hey, what's going on? Sorry, 4 weeks late, says Ryan. It's all good. Check out Bry's. Sweet tweet. I can't even say it. Sweet Treats in the Worcester Public Market, the new shop. She just opened it up. Oh, is it Breeze Sweet Treats? All right, I'll definitely do that. I listened to my 8-track this week in my 67 Camaro, and it took me way back. So I told you guys last week that I watched a DVD for the first time in a while because we lost cable and we lost internet at the house because of all the crazy storms we were having. And it definitely sent me down this like full-blown retro thing, which was kind of nice. Like I'm still the person that has like oil lamps and candles, even though I have a generator on my house. So when I lose power, I never really lose power. There's something about, losing electricity and the candles and like all of that stuff. And, there were a lot of memes and pictures going around about the anniversary of the blizzard of 78, which was the 45th anniversary, right? It's just crazy that I have such distinctive memories, and I was a little kid, but I remember us not having power for days. And I remember playing board games with my dad. My sister was a baby, and we played board games by candlelight at home. And my mom actually, talk about doodle-loot, way back machine. My mom was a nurse at the hospital, and the civil defense, remember the civil defense that we used to have? The civil defense picked my mother up on a snowmobile, put a giant snowmobile suit on her, and took her to work at the hospital by snowmobile because the blizzard of 78, the snow was so bad and the roads were just impassable. P.S. No one had four-wheel drive or front-wheel drive anyway. But like the memories of that snowstorm are still like, they are so ingrained in the memories of my childhood. And there's just, what's up, Mr. Voorhees? And there's just something about like the idea of like being snowed in and riding out a storm with candles and all of that. There's like this romance to it. And then of course you have to do it and you realize how much it sucks, especially when it's super cold outside like it's going to be this weekend. So hopefully everybody's heat is going to hold up and their electricity is going to hold up because it's going to be ridiculously cold. It's going to let up. By Sunday, it's going to be 40 degrees. But the cold snap on Friday night into Saturday, regardless of where you are, unless you're someplace super, super warm, make sure you've got some just stockpiled stuff in case you lose power Friday night, because 35 below with a wind chill, it's going to get real cold in your house without electricity, even if it's only for 12 hours or something. So just be super careful. Let's see. When the ice storm came in 2008, we had no electricity for 10 days. I got very well acquainted with our generator at the time. Yeah, I mean, it is possible. And, they've done all kinds of studies about, I've talked about this before, about massive outages and how long it would take society as a whole to really start to crumble. And the idea is a massive storm, like catastrophic storm, that wiped out like power in an entire time zone, right? So where it would take days for reinforcements to come from other parts of the country, it takes 9 days for absolute and total power loss for society to start breaking down at like a basic level, meaning gas pumps don't work, meaning police and fire, EMS, 911, hospitals are no longer able to function because generators are running out of fuel. There's no way to get there. Water is not getting pumped. That's when it starts to get really scary. So even though it's only going to be super cold for like Friday into Saturday, Even losing power for a few hours when it's that cold, if you've got someone dependent on some kind of life-saving equipment, if you've got babies or elderly in the house, people with disabilities, we've got a few days to kind of prepare for minus 34 with a wind chill. So just make sure you're all good. I was in elementary school during the blizzard of 78. I'll never forget it, she said. We knew exactly how much time it took to heat the house. I knew exactly how much time it took for a heated house to get cold again. Those ice storms are crazy. And let's see. Hey, Carrie, a teenager hit a telephone pole today by me, and I lost power from 9 a.m. until 7. And you know, even if you have a generator, you're still dependent on the fuel source, right? So if you're lucky enough to have natural gas, hopefully the natural gas will continue to flow. If it's gasoline, you got to be able to get it. If it's propane, you got to know you're going to get the tanks filled. That's why I called the propane company before the winter, and I was like, I want to make sure my tank is topped off just to make sure, you know. Tomorrow's going to be effing crazy. God help me, says Michelle. How many of you remember the power outage of 1965? I do not, because I was not born. But I bet a lot of kids were born because of the power outage of 1965. Keith says I was one. So we're going to get definitely cold weather, but anytime we start to get like any kind of crazy weather, and it doesn't matter where you're joining us here in the War Room, if you're someplace in Tornado Alley, if you're someplace that could get hit by torrential rain and flooding, hurricanes, bad blizzards, like whatever the inclement weather is, it doesn't really matter. Just having some kind of emergency plan and emergency provisions for whatever the weather is going to be is just always a good idea. That whole thing about, driving your car until there's no gas left in it. If you need a prescription, never letting it get to the point where you've only got a day or two left of that prescription, because in that day or two, you could get a storm and not be able to refill your prescription. Something important like diabetes medication or heart medication. Like, it's just stuff like that, thinking ahead. And there's a lot of people that still haven't learned those lessons from COVID. We were lucky that a lot of the essential places, the grocery stores, the drugstores, places, the home stores like Home Depot and stuff stayed open. But we all saw just how crazy it can be and how quickly it can go downhill. So just be super careful with these crazy temps we're getting. By the way, I got my new computer last Wednesday and I am ready to rock, says Eric. I was born and raised in Maine, but I do not like this weather, says Trina. Well, when you're born and raised in it, sometimes people want to get the hell away from it, and I could totally empathize with that. Carol asked about the shoulder. So I was telling everybody with the Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass on Sunday night that I had an appointment with the orthopedist yesterday after having an MRI last week that I told you guys about in the War Room last week, that it was the first time that I really felt kind of claustrophobic. So my appointment with the ortho yesterday went well. In the MRI, they discovered that not only do I have adhesive capsulitis, which is frozen shoulder syndrome, which is what I've been battling for almost a year. It was started in March of last year, but I also have a partial tear of my rotator cuff. And it's only a partial tear. I also have a hint of bursitis as well. And they don't know, this is like a chicken and the egg thing. They don't know if the partial tear was first and that caused the bursitis and then that caused the frozen shoulder. Like, they really don't know what came first. But the rotator cuff is not torn enough where they want to do a surgical repair, because they said that in order to repair it, you basically have to completely cut the rotator cuff and then reattach it all. That the way that it's torn, it can't just be partially reattached, that it has to be cut and then fully reattached. And they don't want to do that because it's not torn that bad. But they gave me another injection yesterday. And I got to tell you, like, my arm last night felt like I took about 100 punches to the shoulder. Today, it doesn't hurt at all. And it's when I try to really push the range of motion, it can get sore. But there are certain movements, like the arm, like palm down straight up, like with resistance, stuff like that. So he told me to give the injection in my shoulder a couple of weeks. And then he wants me to call and kind of tell him how I'm doing. And then there's a really good chance that he is going to want me to go back to physical therapy and try to build up some of the surrounding muscles and try to work out some of the fluid buildup from the adhesive capsulitis and to try and continue to repair it and continue to get my range of motion back. So thank you for asking. It wasn't the best news, but it wasn't as bad. You know, we were really afraid that it was more than a partial tear of the cuff. And at that point, I was going to get the surgery right away so that I would have a chance to recover and be able to enjoy my summer a little bit, even if it was going to be late in the summer. But yeah, Jacqueline says, can you do physical therapy? He wants me to give the injection 2 weeks to really maximize its effect and try to get some more of the inflammation down. And then he's going to give me the go ahead, I think, to go to physical therapy. And so then we'll see. But yeah, conservative treatment first, says Tracy. Yeah. And are you going to have therapy? Jessica wants to know. Yeah, I spent pretty much all of last year in physical therapy, and it helped in a lot of ways, but it would also, get really painful. And, I got to tell you, the movement that's been the hardest, ladies, you'll appreciate this. Guys, you might not understand it, but the bra strap move. So if you can take your hand, if say you had an itch between your shoulder blades and you can take your arm and go up behind your back to itch it, that movement is not possible for me. So I had to learn how to unhook my bra left-handed, which, guys, I know a lot of you have that skill. Ladies, if you're dominant on the right side, you do all that stuff right-handed, and I had to learn how to do it with the left because the right arm doesn't go up that high. Now, there was a time where I couldn't even get my arm to do this. Like, my range of motion is significantly better. But I'm telling you, frozen shoulder syndrome, adhesive capsulitis, as it's medically known, is no friggin' joke. Anybody that's had it, you have all of my sympathy in the world. If you've never had it, I hope you never get it. Sometimes it's caused by an injury. Sometimes it just shows up. They have no idea when I hurt my rotator cuff. They have no idea how I got frozen shoulder. It just showed up one day. So no wind therapy and skydiving. Well, at least not right now. But the orthopedic surgeon that I went to go and see, who's been my doc for a year now, he's a golfer. He thinks I'm insane that I want to ride a motorcycle and jump out of airplanes. And but he also understands that it's something that's incredibly important to me. And so when I left the office yesterday, he said, we're going to do everything we can to get you back on your motorcycle this year and back in the air this year skydiving. So that's the goal. Mark says, that's a trick I learned at 15. Yeah. I didn't wear a bra for about 4 months when I had frozen shoulder, says Donna. Yeah, it sucks. Frozen shoulder sucks. Carrie, you're married, and as you get older, that's what your husband is for. Well, I need my husband to not be active duty military, so he's around more to unhook my bra. Thank you very much, Eric. Walter, get the back scratcher. Yeah, exactly. But that is the physical therapy move that has taken the longest to come back, is that be able to scratch. Like, my shoulder just doesn't want to go that way, and it sucks. All right, we got a lot to talk about. Let's recap last week's podcast episode. So last week, episode 138 of the Mistress Carrie podcast came out, featuring Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots, who I absolutely love. I did not get a chance to follow up the questions about when he started talking about his solo album, Lessons Learned, and he talked about how it was based in love lost and heartbreak. I kind of wanted to give Mr. DeLeo a little bit of a hug and find out who broke his heart, because I've had a longstanding theory that rock and roll wouldn't exist if women weren't bitches. And the fact that he kind of wrote this acoustic record and funneled a lot of that personal kind of pain into it, I felt really bad. So giant hug, Mr. DeLeo. But I loved I love the DeLeo brothers both. Dean's been on the podcast a couple of times already. It was great to finally get Robert on, but they are the most fun kind of interview because they just want to talk about stuff, and they don't kind of balk at questions. They give thoughtful answers. They're very candid. And I love artists that are just that personal, that don't just, that aren't just like, can you just ask me about the record? Can you just ask me about the tour? That are willing to really kind of open up and talk about the people that they are, especially outside of music, which are the kind of interviews that I really try to give you on the podcast. And he's just awesome. The DeLeo brothers are badass. And I absolutely loved having him on the show. So if you're a Stone Temple Pilots fan, episode 138, Robert DeLeo on the podcast, Wednesday. Why are you needing so much attention? Will you come here? Let me rub your belly. If you're going to scratch me, then let me rub your, you come here. Let me rub your belly. If you're going to sit there and claw me, then just sit here and be part of the show so we can talk to everybody. Okay? This is how we sit a lot of the time. Right? Yeah, exactly. You want me to pet you, but your way. And in the meantime, I gave her a manicure today. I didn't paint her nails. Don't get all weird on me. But pugs' nails grow really fast, and they hate getting their nails cut. So I have a little sander grinder thing, and I'm trying to get her quicks to recede back in her nails a little bit. So I've been filing them like a couple times a week to get them to go down a little bit. She was not having it today. So Robert DeLeo, episode 138. He's just awesome. We talked a little bit of baseball, which is something that he has in common with my guest this week on the podcast. And if you have a backstage pass, obviously we talked about it on Sunday night. We did our monthly live stream, kind of filled them in on some of the guests that are going to be coming up on the show in the next few weeks. But my guest this week, another baseball fan, and we actually talked about his love of the dreaded New York Yankees. My guest this week on the podcast, super excited to have him on. It's his first appearance on the podcast. Scott Ian from Anthrax is my guest this week. Now, we had Frank Bello from Anthrax on episode 109, which, by the way, fun fact, still holds the record for the most popular episode of the podcast ever. All of the people that I've had on the podcast, 139 weeks in a row, because you guys will remember I haven't missed a week. Plus, there have been episodes that have had multiple guests. There was episode number 2 that had Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Zach Myers from Shinedown on the same episode. We also had the Zoltan Bathory episode where it was Zoltan and Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach, I believe. There have definitely, the guys from The Who were on, and also Alan Kovac were on. So I've had multiple episodes where there have been multiple guests. And then there was like the Guitar God episode where I had 3 different guitar players on at the same time. But in 139 episodes, Frank Bello is the most popular episode. And so I'm super excited to see what happens with this episode. But Scott Ian is going to be my guest this week. Let's see. Jessica said, love Scott Weiland. He had such a talented voice. I don't like the New York Yankees. Boo to the Yankees. I know, but Scott Ian's a New Yorker. We actually talked about baseball. We talked about his experiences at Fenway. We talked about what he likes to do when he comes to Boston. Anthrax and Zakk Wylde, they're going to be all over New England. They're going to be up in Maine on Thursday night. They're going to be at Mohegan on Friday and the House of Blues on Sunday. And we had a great conversation about a lot of stuff. Scott Ian's early musical career. We talked about learning how to play the guitar and taking over lyric writing responsibilities on the second Anthrax record. In 1985, we talked a lot about his father-in-law. A lot of people might not realize that Scott Ian is married to Meat Loaf's daughter, Pearl. And so obviously we just passed the year anniversary of the passing of Meat Loaf, and Pearl and her sister released like a 35-minute documentary on Meatloaf's life. And so Scott Ian tweeted out the link and I got to watch it. Fascinating life, by the way, about how his career started and just all of the things he was known for. Sold a shit ton of records, all the movies that he was in. And so Scott Ian and I talked about how he was a Meatloaf fan growing up with his dad and then having to go and pick up Pearl on her first date at Meatloaf's house. We also talked about Scott Ian and Pearl's son because we had a whole discussion. And I thought Scott Ian would be the perfect person to go down this road of, is musical ability genetic or learned? Because Scott Ian obviously is a guitar player. Pearl is a songwriter and a singer. She's a musician as well. Pearl's biological dad was Janis Joplin's drummer. Meatloaf is her adopted father. So Pearl was raised around music by her biological dad and that genetics, but then also growing up as Meatloaf's daughter. And their son, Pearl and Scott's son, Scott Ian puts a lot of videos up of him as a guitar player, and he's a little kid, but he already can play. So we got into a really fascinating discussion about whether or not musical ability is learned or that you're born with it or not. So, it's a really fascinating discussion. 40th anniversary of Anthrax. Yeah, their first album came out in 1984. So, the band was already together at this point in 1983, which is just crazy that it's been that long. Meatloaf loved the paranormal. He 100% did. Scott Ian is an amazing guitar player and singer. And by the way, guys, the corresponding playlist for this episode is awesome because we got into this whole rabbit hole about the music that he was raised with, that his parents kind of listened to. And then when he discovered like Kiss and kind of discovered the music that he loved, AC/DC and Kiss specifically. But then he kind of went into this whole analysis when he was growing up of the perception of like the late 60s, early 70s bands versus like the mid 70s bands. Like he talked about the perception and the difference between like a Zeppelin and like a Jimi Hendrix and a Pink Floyd to like AC/DC and Kiss and the Ramones. And that even though those bands were only like 5 or 6 years apart, for kids that were teenagers at that time, there was definitely a generation shift. And so we talked all about this, which means the corresponding playlist for this episode is awesome. Did you see the Ghost Hunters episode? I did not. Meatloaf was awesome in the Patrick Swayze movie. Meatloaf was a really good actor. Roles like Fight Club, like a fantastic actor. And, Bat Out of Hell, I believe, is still one of the best-selling albums in the history of recorded music. Must have picked that up from Frankenfurter. Yeah, exactly. I met Scott Ian many years ago at a concert with Cro-Mags in Providence during high school. Yeah, he also went on to talk about the new generation of rock fans. We got into a little bit of discussion about the whole rock is dead thing. And he talked about the kind of kid that he was, the music fan that he was as a teenager, and what that makes him feel like to see kids at the age he was at when he discovered the bands he loved at Anthrax shows. And so I think if you guys love Anthrax, I think if you're a guitar player, I think if you are just a lover of rock music in general, I think you guys are going to love this episode. So Scott Ian is my guest this week, episode 139 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, and it goes live at midnight tonight. And I want to remind you guys that not only do you get the full-length episodes, but you also get the sit rep every weekday. So not only do you get every Wednesday a new full-length episode, but Monday through Friday you get the Sit Rep, which is rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates, like everything you need to know. And it's boiled down to around 5 minutes. I used to say under 5 minutes, but sometimes there are stories that are just too important for me to cut out. So it's somewhere around 5 or 6 minutes. Sometimes it's 4, but it's right around there. Super easy for you to get caught up with everything going on in a really fast way. And it uploads first thing in the morning. So no matter how early you're getting up, if you're doing it to commute early, if you're doing it to bring the kids to school, if you're exercising, like whatever it is, you can get caught up with everything. And I always put all the links to the stories in the show notes of the Sit Rep so that you can find the stories if you're interested and want to know more. I want to let you guys know, big announcement this week. You may have noticed if you subscribe to my YouTube channel that there's been a lot of traffic on my YouTube channel this week. And it's because you can now listen to full-length episodes of the Mistress Carrie podcast on YouTube. That does not mean the video for the interviews is up on YouTube, but it now means that the audio is available on YouTube, and it's not just the full-length episodes, it's the Sit Rep episodes as well. So if you like to listen to audio off of YouTube while you're sitting at your desk, whatever it is that you're doing, moving forward, all of the new episodes will be up on the YouTube channel, and I am slowly but surely going back and putting all of the archived episodes, starting with the full-length episodes of the podcast first, then the bonus episodes, then the after action reports from Cocktails in the War Room. I don't think I'm going to move the archives of the Sit Rep because, you know, it's not really worth moving rock news from 3 years ago onto the YouTube channel. But the actual podcast episodes are definitely getting moved. I think like the last 5 or 6 weeks of the podcast is already up there. So if you're looking for a different way to listen to the podcast, you can now listen on the YouTube channel. But there's all of these other places that you can listen to the podcast. And that also includes mistresscarrie.com as well. So however it is that you want to listen to the interviews, I've made them available everywhere. And if you don't want to listen at another place, you can just go to mistresscarrie.com and click the embedded players. All you have to do is just hit play and you can listen to all of the episodes. So all of the full-length episodes are going to be up on YouTube, but Scott Ian's episode 139, will be up on YouTube first thing in the morning. So let's see. Gotta have Flava Flav and Anthrax in the playlist. Sausage Party was on the Paramount channel this weekend, and I cracked up that Meatloaf sang as Meatloaf in that movie. Bat Out of Hell is right behind Led Zeppelin 4 and Michael Jackson's Bad. 22 million certified copies sold, and that's just in the United States, right? It's just crazy how many copies have sold. Thriller is the best-selling album, followed by AC/DC's Back in Black. Where is the Eagles' greatest hits on that list? Because I know that that's always kind of there in the top 3 as well. So will we get video on YouTube for the podcast? It's something that I'm working towards, Mark, but it requires a little bit more video proficiency. I do archive the video of all of the interviews that I do that allow me to record video, but not every interview allows me to record video, so I don't have them on. No, I have not had Aerosmith on the podcast yet, but I'm working on it. Thank you for always making it so easy to listen to you. Did we get 10 more countries? We got 10 more countries a couple weeks ago. We are still holding out at 149 countries. So it's kind of insane that we've hit 149 countries and how most of the globe is filled in at this point. We've just got parts of Asia and Africa to fill in, which is kind of insane, but so awesome. So 149 countries listening to the Mistress Carrie podcast, which I'm super stoked about. So we got a lot of music news to talk about. I want to remind you guys about Boston Calling. Huge lineup this year. And the biggest news, obviously, is that the Foo Fighters are headlining the Friday night of Memorial Day weekend at the Harvard Athletic Complex. And the tickets are on sale now. Lumineers and Alanis Morissette headlining Saturday night, Paramore and Queens of the Stone Age headlining on Sunday night. But you can get all the details on all the shows. And guys, by the way, I've started to expand the concert calendar. I'm really trying to get it to be an all of New England calendar for concerts, because a lot of tours will come through New England and they're playing multiple shows, and sometimes dates up in Maine or New Hampshire are closer for you, or sometimes a tour is not coming through Mass, but you'll be able to see it in New Hampshire and Connecticut or in Providence. So I'm constantly trying to update the concert calendar with dates and stops that are all over New England. So if there are venues that you are not seeing represented on the concert calendar, whether they be in Vermont or in places in New Hampshire or Maine or Connecticut, Rhode Island, wherever, Western Mass, let me know, because I want to make sure that the concert calendar is a really accurate representation of all of the shows that are going to be in the area. So Boston Calling is huge. Also want to remind you guys about the big gig, which is coming up fast on April 29th. This is at the DCU Center. Breaking Benjamin, Falling in Reverse, The Pretty Reckless, Beartooth, and Dorothy. They're all going to be at the DCU Center. Tickets are on sale now. This is the second annual big gig, and Mike Shue and I once again are going to be there to host the festivities, the master and mistress of ceremonies, as you will. So get your tickets. Again, this is all listed up on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. I wanted to put this date. This is a temporary hold. Put it in pencil, not pen, on your calendar. But War Room family, if you would, please block off this night, March 6th. For everybody that's been asking when we could get the War Room family together, or no, it's not March 6th, May 6th, excuse me. There is a tentative date coming up to take the War Room on deployment in Massachusetts. It's going to be on a Saturday night, so it's going to be a special Cocktails in the War Room. So I just want you guys now, I'm just giving you fair warning. I'll give you more details when this becomes 100% confirmed. But we are moving forward with the plan to take Cocktails in the War Room on the road, and it's going to be Saturday night, May 6th. So block that day off, because there's an announcement coming, which I'm super excited about. So, all right, other stuff to make sure that you guys know about, because there's a lot of shows coming up fast. Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. Alter Bridge and Mammoth WVH next week, February 8th at Roadrunner. Tickets are still available. Roadrunner is an absolutely beautiful venue. It is awesome. It's right in Brighton on Guest Street. Red is also on this show. If you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, I still have a few tickets left available for you guys. So if you want to go to the show, if you have a Backstage Pass, let me know. There's a possibility that I'm going to have some tickets here in the War Room. So be on the lookout for that. But right now, tickets are available for Backstage Pass members. Theory of a Dead Man is also headed to Roadrunner with Skillet and Saint Asonia, and that show is happening February 25th, and those tickets are on sale now as well. And Backstage Pass holders, I also have tickets available for that show. All right, a lot of other shows are coming to the area fast, including Bush and Candlebox at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway on Valentine's Day. Backstage Pass holders, there are tickets available for this one. Want to remind you guys about the new Godsmack record coming fast and furious February 24th. Anthrax Black Label at the House of Blues on Sunday night. Friday night at Mohegan. Thursday night, they are up in Portland, Maine, I believe. All three of those shows on the concert calendar. Foreigners Farewell Tour with Loverboy, August 5th. Think about August when it's 35 below zero on Friday night. Queensryche at the Palladium on April 7th. Aaron Lewis at Foxwoods on April 22nd. Don't forget, we're expecting some Stained tour dates and a new Stained record coming this year, which is very exciting. The Dropkick Murphys, March 17th and 18th for St. Patrick's Day and the day after at the MGM Music Hall. March 19th at the House of Blues. Jerry Cantrell is going to be at the Cabot Theater on March 17th in Beverly. Want to remind you, Blink-182's reunion tour rolling into the Garden on May 21st. The Dave Matthews Band announced they're going to be at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield on June 17th. That show also up on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Anvil announced last week they're going to be at the Middle East on April Fool's Day. Avatar is going to be at the Paradise Rock Club on May 24th. Our Lady Peace is at the Paradise Rock Club coming up fast on February 10th. Soulfly is at the Brighton Music Hall on February 20th. And Steel Panther is going to be with Crowbot at the Palladium on March 19th. I told you guys. Of shows. It's going to be very busy. Chris Stapleton and Babyface got announced. They're performing at the Super Bowl. Want to remind you guys as well. Now there's 2 rock stars that are going to be represented in Super Bowl commercials that we know of. First, we heard that Ozzy was going to be doing a commercial for, was it Workplace? And now last week, Crown Royal announced that Dave Grohl is going to be a brand ambassador for Crown Royal in a commercial that's set to air in the third quarter of the Super Bowl. And also it's Grammy weekend this weekend, and Nirvana is set to accept the Special Merit Award from the Grammys on Saturday night alongside Anna Nancy Wilson from Heart. No word yet on if Dave Grohl, Pat Smear, and Chris Novoselic are going to be there to accept the Special Merit Award from the Grammys, but I would assume so. Now, I don't know if that means that since they're already going to be in LA for the Grammys on Saturday night, if those guys are going to make some kind of appearance at the Grammys in some kind of collaborative way on Sunday at the Grammys, but we'll see. We're still waiting to find out an exact date, but we found out recently that if you've been waiting for new Judas Priest for this year, not coming. Rob Halford said it's definitely coming in 2024. We're getting a new Mudhoney album called Plastic Eternity on April 7th. Static X and Fear Factory with Mushroom Head, Dope, and Raven Black are going to be at Big Night Live on March 21st. Those tickets are on sale as well. And I also want to remind you guys that on March 2nd, tickets go on sale and become available for Metallica taking over theaters worldwide to preview 72 Seasons in theaters in Dolby Surround Sound and with a video for every song on the record on the big screen in movie theaters. And I have been told on very good authority that we are going to have theaters in the area that are going to be showing all of these Metallica videos and taking part in the world premiere of 72 Seasons, but we don't know where they're going to be yet, but that information is coming soon, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Mail call this week, went to the post office, nothing showed up other than a bunch of tax stuff that showed up for Bigfoot First, just a bunch of stuff. Hold on. Power outage. We had a outage here in the, hold on. Hold on. Are the lights back on? All right, the lights are back on, but we're having a power outage. Hold on. Wait a minute. What's going on? How weird was that? See, we were talking about power outages and then we had a power outage here in the war room. Yeah, so weird. It wasn't Wednesday. Am I back? Are we good? The ghosts are at work. Please pause for a station identification. Quit stepping on the wires. No, we just lost like the whole rig just went boop, boop. Whoa. Walter. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, a lot of documents and stuff came in the mail this week, but nothing else exciting. So there you go. Wanted to remind you guys about all of the merch stuff. Working on some new merch ideas for spring. But Mistress Carrie merchandise available at Joe's Albums. While you're there, check out the Mistress Carrie rack as well with some new vinyl that got put in there. And obviously, you can go to the shop at mistresscarrie.com. Everything is in stock and ready to go. And with all of the concerts, especially if you need to take a bag inside. So if you need to, if you need to have a bag in a concert, there's a lot of baggage rules and restrictions now. And one of the things that is a top seller on the website right now is the concert bag, because it meets all of the baggage requirements. It's clear plastic, it's small, you can wear it crossbody, you can wear it around your waist. Wednesday, what are you doing? Hey, knock it off. So just head to the shop at mistresscarrie.com. If you're new to the War Room and we haven't scared you away by now, this is the point where we toast everyone that's having a birthday. So if you have a birthday today, happy birthday. And you share your birthday with Marcus Mumford, Chad Channing, I believe the original drummer from Nirvana, Al Jaworski, Jeff Hanneman, Johnny Rotten, and Adrian Vandenberg, all celebrating their birthdays today. So if you were born on the last day of January, cheers to you, and also happy unbirthday, Keith. Yes, the same Keith that never wears pants. We always wish him a happy unbirthday as well. Let's see. She's having a moment with that pillow. Yeah, I know. I don't know what the hell she's doing. Hey, stop it. What's going on over there? She pulled a thread off of the pillow and it was like stuck on her tongue, I think, or something. Sunday was my birthday. Well, happy belated birthday. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Byron saying his birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday to you, Byron. Eric says goodbye pillows for Wednesday. Yeah, exactly. Can't believe we had a power outage on the show. Crazy. The backstage pass holders, we got together this past Sunday night, talked about a lot of stuff, including some of the episodes that I'm expecting to release in the next few weeks. I've also got some travel plans that are in the works right now. There might be a Vegas trip coming up. We still don't know yet. But if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you get the travel blog updates. You can submit questions for podcast interviews, early access to event tickets. You also get exclusive concert ticket giveaways. And like I was telling you guys, tickets that are available for Backstage Pass holders, Alter Bridge and Mammoth WVH tickets, Bush and Candlebox tickets, and Theory of a Dead Man and Skillet tickets, all up for grabs. So if you don't have a Backstage Pass, super easy to get on Patreon. Click the Patreon button at mistresscarrie.com or just search for Mistress Carrie on the Patreon app. And one of the many places that you can find me. Here are all of the social apps. They're available everywhere. If you follow me on Twitter, the link to my link tree is up there with all of the links to my socials, everything you kind of need to know. If you hadn't mentioned it, it would not have been known that there was an outage. Well, there would have been because the microphone stopped working because the soundboard went out. So all the lights went out, and the soundboard stopped working, which means that you weren't getting the feed from the microphone. I think the computer clicked onto its battery power, and then you were getting, if you could hear me, it was through the computer microphone and not the good microphone. So you would have known fast if I didn't tell you that the power had gone out, for sure. Any news on Blink-182? Yeah, they're going to be at the Garden in May. Tom DeLonge also promised Matt Bellamy from Muse to take him to like this museum and like collection of alien memorabilia, which is kind of hilarious. But Blink-182 is also part of a bunch of huge festival dates, including there's a festival in October. I think it's the When We Were Young Festival in Vegas that is in October, and it's Green Day, Blink-182, and Offspring, I think, are the headliners, which is just huge. Ralph says, I just found my 2001 indoor beach party ticket stub, Disturbed, the Toadies, Mudvayne, Nonpoint, and Scrape, March 30th. And you guys will remember that Scrape, which, by the way, Scrape was spelled with a K, Will, the drummer from Scrape, is the drummer of Evanescence, which is just crazy. But what a lineup that was. Think about that. Disturbed, the Toadies, Mudvayne, Nonpoint, and Scrape. Badass. Was that at the Songus? That indoor beach party? I think that one was at the Songus, right? It was like right after the Songus opened. The cost to see Blink-182 is a mortgage payment. Yeah. Travis Barker is an amazing drummer. That Taylor Hawkins believed in. Yeah, like Taylor Hawkins like gave him like his first shot, didn't he? Like when he was just like a local kid. There's a lot of stories about that. Travis Barker has told that story many times, actually. Let's see. Amy Lee, an amazing singing voice. I love Green Day as well. Yeah, so there's a lot going on with Blink-182. I'm just glad that Tom DeLonge's back in the band. It just makes me happy. They also just came out with their own line of Funko Pop figurines, and they're all naked from the What's My Age Again video, and they've pixelated the genitalia of the Funko Pops. Just like it is in the video. It's really hilarious. So that's basically what's going on, guys. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we go? Wednesday's asleep over there. Are you sleeping? Did you hear me say your name and pop your little cute little pug face up? Yeah. Green Day is great live. Jessica says, I love that music video. No more Panic at the Disco. That's right. They announced that after this tour, they are breaking up. Yay, naked. Good night, Wednesday, says Elsa. So that is everything that's going on right now. There's a lot coming in the next few weeks. A lot of tours are going to get announced. There's going to be a big tour that gets announced on Monday. I already know what it is, but I promise them I couldn't tell you. But a big tour is getting announced on Monday. We'll be able to talk about it and when tickets are going to go on sale next week here in the War Room. Who was naked? The guys in Blink-182 in the What's My Age Again video. That's what we were talking about. It's going to be bitterly cold, below zero this weekend. Ralph, we talked about it before you joined the show. 34, 35 degrees below zero. It's going to be almost 85 below on the top of Mount Washington, which is just crazy pants. So take care of yourselves. Really make sure if you have to travel Friday and Saturday that your gas tank is topped off, that you've got emergency stuff, a blanket, just emergency gear in the trunk. Heaven forbid that you break down. 35 below zero. Batteries die faster. Cell phone batteries die faster. So that kind of cold can kill you. So just please be careful this weekend. There's a lot of storms coming across the United States. So no matter where you're joining us from, just be super careful this weekend. We'll be back here next Tuesday night, and episode 139 of the Mistress Carrie podcast featuring Scott Ian from Anthrax goes live at midnight tonight. And don't forget, now available on my YouTube channel. Full-length episodes and sit-rep episodes are now available to listen to on YouTube. All right, good night, guys. We'll see you guys later. Have a great week. And yeah, she's back asleep again. All right, good night.